Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind that Kaito Dan, and welcome to my breakdown of everything RWBY related from this year's panel at RTX 2020. Yes, even with the convention being stuck at home and everything going on in the world, we still got ourselves some exciting RWBY news and reveals, including the much anticipated release date for Volume 8. But before we start all that, I do have a pair of quick notes to share. First off, RWBY Fairy Tales of Remnant is available physically and as an audiobook right now if you're not already aware. And I've been going through the audiobook this week, plus my physical copy just dropped today, and spoilers, it's damn good stuff. You can check out my review for the book sometime next week, so be on the lookout for that. Also, something super exciting, I'm going to be a part of a special RWBY Tubers at Home discussion video involving myself, Murderer Birds, Klaxon, Blizzik, Phoenix Knight, Jeremy Noir, and Fat Man Falling. We're going to be discussing everything from the RWBY panel, as well as our thoughts on Volume 8, and anything else on our minds. And if you want to make sure you ask us some questions, be sure to leave them on Arnold's tweet, which I'll leave linked in the description down below. Then make sure you tune in for the panel in the coming days. I'm sure it's going to be a ton of fun, I cannot wait. But now let's get into discussing the RWBY panel, which had a ton of exciting reveals, including of course a bucket load of merch details. So let's start off with all the merchandise stuff. First, we got the home release of Volume 7, which is coming out on October 22nd. On screen, you can see where the DVD and Blu-ray will be sold, and apparently the commentaries for this one is going to be a blast, cause the RWBY had a bit of a mental time doing them in the midst of quarantine. We also got a slew of new clothing merchandise being discussed, starting with the date for the upcoming Babs Tarr collection, which will be on the Coop Comics site on October the 30th. Following that, we have a new manga-themed collection from Atsuko, as well as the newest RWBY Reimagined shirts, with the main four girls drawn in classic anime styling as a space crew, complete with RWBY as an engineer with a cool ass tattoo on her arm, and Yang rocking a sick looking metal arm. You can get them as singular shirts, or if you are a first member, there's an exclusive team version out on the store right now, so go check that out if that suits your fancy. The biggest clothing reveal though has to be something that I suspected to become a thing at some point, that being Yang's Volume 7 bomber jacket, which is currently sold out last time I checked. Not surprising given it looks awesome as heck, and who knows, maybe we'll get some more stock in the future? If not, then there's also some new cosplay hoodies for Neo and Penny, as well as Team RWBY pins with an exclusive crow pin if you buy the set. Perhaps the strangest yet oddly coolest new merchandise item that was shown is Team RWBY Tiki mugs from Geeky Tiki. Yes, the RWBY girls have turned tiki for your drinking needs, and I actually like this a lot. The designs in the artwork look awesome as hell, and even as someone who's not that much of a cocktail drinker, I can see this still being something worth getting as a display item. But for those of you who will drink from them, maybe you'll go for a RWBY Duchess for Ruby's mug, a White Lady for Weiss's, maybe a Dark and Stormy for Blake's, and of course, Yang would have a Strawberry Sunrise. No ice, little umbrella, unnecessary. And speaking of things to display, we got the reveal of a Weiss Figma from Good Smile, for those of you who want something to go alongside the RWBY Figma that was revealed a while back. The Ice Queen looks especially stunning with Good Smile's usual high quality detail with their figures, and I don't just love that, I also love that we finally got RWBY Nendoroids, something that many of us have clamored for years, and you can pre-order the RWBY Nendo right now, so go ahead onto Good Smile's site and check that out if you want to grab it. Next up, we have side material details, with the first detail being the official RWBY manga that just capped off the Beacon arc will be going into full print next year. And in keeping with the manga theme, the much loved anthology series will continue with the upcoming Team Juniper anthology. This release will feature more awesome art and fun stories from fellow RWBY fans focused on our fave B team, who will also be joining the board game RWBY Combat Ready as the newest expansion, so there's plenty to look forward to if you are a fan of Jean, Nora, Pyrrha and Ren. And going from board games to video games, yep, we got ourselves a new RWBY video game, and it looks to be a big one from the pair of WayForward and Arc System Works. This is super exciting, and it's easily one of the biggest reveals of the panel, not just because it's a new RWBY game, but also because of the folks behind it. For those of you who are not familiar with either company, WayForward is most known for the widely popular indie series Shantae, while Arc System Works are the lot behind many great fighting games, including Dragon Ball FighterZ, the Guilty Gear series, the BlazBlue series, and of course, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, the game that did feature Team RWBY and Neo as playable characters. Because of that little detail, many people have speculated that this is going to be the much requested RWBY fighting game, considering we actually didn't get any details on this new game from the panel just yet. But we do know that it is coming for 2021, hopefully, given everything going on in the world, and it is coming for consoles and PCs. But yeah, let's discuss what this game could actually be. I don't think it is going to be a fighter, considering WayForward's inclusion, and the fact that Arc System Works recently worked together with WayForward to make River City Girls, a pretty well received side-scroll beat-em-up game. I'm willing to bet that's what this game is gonna be, as we can play as Team RWBY in amongst some beat-em-up fun. And we also have a bit of an inkling as to what the story is gonna be. Whilst we're doing some flashy beat-em-up combos fitting the action of the series, apparently the story is going to be taking place in the middle of Volume 7, likely during the period where the heroes just got their Pro Huntsman license and spent several days working alongside the Aesops protecting Mantle, in that montage that I believe had Brand New Day playing in the background. That would actually be a really good opportunity to get some more interactions with the Aesops as well as the other characters, and get to explore more of Mantle through a playable format. It'll be extra special as well if the game is going to have possible online co-op. If we're just going to be playing as Team RWBY, that means that we can play with 3 other people for 4-player co-op madness. And I know for a fact I would love to do that with some of my other RWBYtuber friends. But yeah, that is something to look forward to, a brand new RWBY video game from the minds of WayForward and Arc System Works, and whatever the game is going to turn out to be, I will make sure to keep you guys updated on everything that'll come out for it in the coming months. Sadly, there was no reveal for a third E.C. Myers book at the authors panel, but if you guys keep on supporting the books that we do have, including the recently released Before the Dawn and Fairy Tales of Remnant, then that's bound to keep the demand high for some more RWBY books, and some more adventures perhaps with Team Coffee and Company over in Vacuo. So again, please make sure you go and support these fantastic books right now. Now before we discuss the Volume 8 stuff, a quick little detour into the panel's Q&A segment, cause it did reveal some stuff that fans have been curious about for a bit, starting off with birthdays! Yep, we finally got some new birthday date information on the rest of Team RWBY, after many of us have asked for it following RWBY's being revealed as part of RWBY Chibi. Miss Rose is of course noted to be born on October 31st, but Weiss is born on May 15th, then Blake is born just 12 days after my birthday, with her being born on January 19th, and then yes, Yang's birthday is in July, though not in the middle of it. Instead, it's July 28th. And cause folks are bound to speculate on these dates and any possible canon story elements that could be brought from it, while this does mean that RWBY was born in the fall, Weiss in spring, Blake in winter, and Yang in the summer, I doubt this will be a sign of which maiden powers they may get in the future. This is just some small scale details that fans have wanted to know just as a means of celebrating the characters when those dates do come around, and now the RWBY have finally gave us those answers. However, something of importance that is relevant to the plot and some of the characters in more in-depth terms is a pair of semblance discussions. We found out that Watts chose to not unlock his semblance as he'd rather excel with his intellect and tech skills, which does fall in line with his kind of character, him being more of a thinker than a fighter, even if he can brawl with someone like Ironwood. He'd much rather focus on something like his brain power or his skill with technology than something that could influence him in a different department. Meanwhile, Ironwood, we found out that he does have a semblance. Mettle, spelled M-E-T-T-L-E. The ability to hyper-focus his resolve and iron will his decisions towards success, blocking out any other distractions. Now, this immediately brought up comparisons to him pulling his arm free from the hard light dust trap during his fight with Watts, but as clarified by Eddie Rivas, that wasn't his semblance, since he had no aura at that time. You can use the moment as a sort of example of what the semblance can help James do in theory, but no, it's not an actual use of the power. Though I do wonder when we have seen it before to help James succeed through some stubborn-headed, high-focused moments. Maybe in his fight with that Alpha Beowulf in Volume 3. Or even just dealing with the immense amount of pain that he would have had to deal with the amount of operations he's had on his metal half. Either way, it's quite the fitting power for such a stalwart but still stubborn figure, and I'm curious to see where it could lend itself in the upcoming volume. Let's talk Volume 8 at last, starting with the big info: when will Volume 8 begin? Well, the answer to that is November 7th. For now. Yeah, much like last year, the RWBY are aiming for that initial date, but they do have the freedom to delay the release if they need more time, which would be fair given the current circumstances of the world, and I do hope that everyone working on the show are staying safe, healthy, and happy. It is worth noting though, that if that date does stick, and should the series just take the week of Christmas off as per usual, then the series' 100th mainline episode will be the first episode of 2021 on the 2nd of January, which would be a nice little early birthday treat for me as well. On the note of chapters, Volume 8 will also have 14 of them this year. The first time since Volume 5 we've had that many episodes, as the last two volumes have had just 13. So it sounds like we're in for a blockbuster volume content-wise. In fact, many chapters are good to go on the production front, and Volume 9's writing is nearly done. So it sounds like the RWBY are on fire right now behind the scenes. Again, I hope safely so. And now, the last segment of this video, the breakdown of our newest teaser trailer. Strap in, cause we got a lot to talk about. Kicking things off, we have Richard the Whale Grimm soaring through the sky as we hear RWBY discuss that now Salem is making her presence known to the world, she's clearly ready to strike at all of Remnant, not just Atlas, so the heroes have to warn everyone else before it's too late. Said Wicked Witch is then seen in a pretty badass looking chair in what I want to imagine is the inside of the Whale Grimm, given the bony features of the setting and the blood red walls. I doubt she's gone all the way back to her castle after just now making her grand entrance, and unless she's corrupted somewhere in Atlas to make it look like this, it's likely she just took a page out of the Grimm's Monstro origins and is waiting inside the beast for the time being. As to why she's waiting, Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. For now, Ren chimes in next, countering RWBY's comments, saying it's all well and good thinking about other kingdoms, but there's people in Atlas and Mantle right now who are in desperate need of protection. There's no time to focus elsewhere when they need to help those caught in the crossfire close by. Only for Nora to speak up next, saying that this is bigger than just Atlas or Mantle. This is about the whole world, and they must do something to protect everyone if they can. Honestly, both statements are fair. You can't just abandon those still in danger here, but the heroes do need to warn the other kingdoms now Salem's on the prowl, so it's no wonder then that a lot of this teaser shows the heroes split into two parties, one side with Ren, Yang, Jean and Oscar, while the remaining lot are in a separate group working elsewhere. But damn, more tension and different stances then for the Renora pair it seems, who notably aren't on the same team during the split up. Things were already tense during the last volume for these two, but with Salem around and the weight of their defeat to Neo in mind, it doesn't look like these two are on the same page right now, which should lead to some tasty drama to come. Focusing on just Ren's group for the moment, we know they seem to be focused on protecting Mantle going off previous teasers, and we do see some more shots of them in the city and entering Pietro's office where they seem to fight off some invading Grimm before grabbing the hoverbites that we've seen a lot of as of late. As for Nora's group, we see them in what looks to be some sort of military base, perhaps looking for a way to get to the Amity Communications Tower to contact the other kingdoms, before we see them ready to fight someone off screen. Though, interestingly, Penny seems hesitant to do so. The Robo Girl has a lot of emotional shots in this teaser, including getting a hug from RWBY on the airship, perhaps when discussing everything from the recent passing of Freya. But her reaction here makes me think that the people the others are prepared to fight are people she knows that's getting in their way, like maybe some Atlas forces, or even the remaining Aesops that we see at one point ready for some new orders. And again in what I bet is a hospital ward looking over their deceased leader, Clover. Safe bet they get ordered to hunt down the heroes by Ironwood and make sure that they bring in the Maiden Powers from Penny so they would be back in Ironwood's control, and thus why we see the heroes ready to fight while Penny is hesitant, the poor girl not wanting to fight people she recently fought alongside with. Then there's the General himself, James Ironwood, who since we last saw him looks to have treated his battle scars by coating his wounded arm in metal. I doubt he's cut off his arm and put on a prosthetic like Yang, since that would take a lot of time to deal with. But either way, the General is still pissed about the heroes siding against him. He's still adamant that Atlas is humanity's last line of defense, and is talking to someone, likely RWBY and company, about their foolish mindset to protect Mantle when they should be helping him fight off Salem. Considering we know from Before the Dawn that there are other kingdoms like Vacuo who can be ready to defend the world if need be, it's a mindset that feels even more stubborn than before. But the hero's choice and his wounds are clearly not going to stop him from fighting anyone who will get in his way, surviving against Salem, who caps off this teaser with several shots of her holding Jin's lamp, now that Cinder has given it to her, who we also see in a brief cut. But what's most intriguing about the Salem scenes is she doesn't seem to know how to summon Jin. Guess Osmond didn't tell her everything about the relics during his past explanation, meaning without the means to call on the relic being, Salem's left with only one option. And no, it's not turning it on and off again like I imagine Mercury might want to quip. No, she needs to get someone who does know how to activate the lamp. Thus, we see what looks to be some sort of blind Grimm sniff out the scent of someone who previously had the relic to bring them to Salem so they can summon Jin. And I think we can already guess who's the target. Oscar, as in this shot of the Mantle group chasing after a flying Grim, you can just barely make out that Oscar is in its grasp. Makes sense since he was the last person to hold it before Neo got to it, and he had it for a long time. Though that is super concerning, Ozpin's current bonded soul in the clutches of Salem. Though here's something else that's worth noting. Salem mentions that she has multiple questions to ask Jin, but we know that Jin only has one question left before she's tapped out for many years. So, what single question will Salem ask? I doubt it's to ask how to summon the gods, as that must have been something that Ozpin did tell her. Nor do I suspect she'll ask how to kill Ozpin for good, since his life or death doesn't really play a factor into the odds of her full victory. No, instead, I think she's gonna try to use Jin to find out where the Relic of Choice is hidden. After all, she had no luck finding it in Beacon, and with the Relic of Destruction likely still in Shade Academy over in Vacuo, it's the last relic that she needs for her plans. So, Jin would be the best means of getting that info if Ozpin won't ever tell her. Whether or not she's successful in her goal, we'll have to wait and see. But either way, this teaser sure left us with plenty to get excited for. Tension, division, conflicting goals, fights, schemes, you name it. And that's not even taking into account all the things we didn't see, all the people that wasn't shown off like Crow, Robin, Neo, and so on. Regardless, that is it for this breakdown, and boy am I pumped. We got so much to be giddy for, whether it's new merchandise, new side material, or just Volume 8 stuff. And I am both hyped and fearful for what that next volume is gonna have in store. Of course, much love to everyone at the RWBY for their hard work during this crazy production time, and I hope they know just how excited we all are. And you can share your thoughts on everything I discussed in the comments down below, and while you do so, please hit the subscribe and bell buttons and tick the notification box to make sure you get every new video from me as they drop. And also, please make sure you follow me on Twitter for more on anything to do with RWBY, updates for the channel, and more. But until next time, have a good day or good night, and peace out.